Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Moed Katan, page 18, which discusses, when it came to Paro, the Talmud here on this page actually tells us the height of Paro. It says, Paro shahaya b'bei Moshe hu alma, usikanu alma, pramashtkoi alma v'zeres. Very fascinating that he was extremely short. In fact, literally, he was only an amma. An amma, or a cubit, is measured from one's elbow to one's middle finger. Now, whether it means he was literally about 18 inches or 2 feet tall, that's certainly possible. But what the Gemara is possibly also just saying is he was extremely, extremely short, shorter than that of an average person. Which, of course, perhaps could be the reason why he was such a stubborn king, that even though there was plague after plague, he hardened his heart. Eventually Hashem hardened his heart. But the point certainly is that instead of him just simply letting the Jewish people leave after all these different plagues, he was someone that was unwilling to let go of this level of power. Now, in 1912, Alfred Adler came up with a theory which most of us are familiar with, which is called the Napoleon complex, which is an inferiority complex based on this French emperor who displayed an aggressive behavior and a desire to be an authoritarian individual. Now, we may not remember all the wars that he won. Perhaps we know he lost in Waterloo. But if you ask anyone, what can you tell me about Napoleon? I would imagine most people would say the first thing is he was short. Now, it's not just that he was short, but there's an element of almost holding a grudge against people who remind you of how short you are. So it's not just being short, but it's being compared to other people, which is very fascinating why the Talmud says Paro in the days of Moshe. Most of the time when we hear of Paro, even though there were numerous Paros, most of the time we would think of the Paro that was in the times of Moshe. But it's fascinating, the Talmud tells us that Moshe was actually very, very tall, literally 10 cubits, which means he was towering over Paro. And therefore we could perhaps understand whenever Paro would encounter Moshe, who was so much taller, this Napoleon complex kicked into Paro, which perhaps could have influenced him in his poor decision-making.